Can we throw him into the warmth of his hearth? No. I mean, are you asking, can I? In which case, probably also still no, but Barak probably could. As for will I? Also no. What does a master of napping do? And sorry. And I shall tell you. And I shall. That doesn't make any sense. He places a hand upon his belt and runs his fingers across the many hammers, chisels, and picks draped across his waist, stopping at a simple stone hammer. Masters of napping focus on the fundamentals of all forge work. Before you can make bronze and iron, you need a hot fire in the controlled space. You need a stone forge. He grips his belt firmly, puffing out his chest slightly as he speaks. Give me a few days and I can take a pile of rocks and fashion proper stone hammers and tools. Give me a few weeks and I can use those tools to build a worthy forge. And with that forge, I can create anything you'd ever need. Stonework is the purest form of our craft. Civilization could be reduced to ashes and a master of napping would be the one to reforge it. Tell me about the Tidecaster Wagstaff. You should know that Wagstaff and I aren't on the best terms. He's old and set in his ways. I've tried, believe me. I've reached out, invited him to share my fire and talk like men. But he's the sort that prefers his own company and ideas. He doesn't seem to care about the people the way I do. In fact, I think he views us as irritants one must endure. That sounds like Wagstaff I remember. Apologies for what you must be going through. Wow, Eb actually agrees. He sighs loudly, shaking his head with an exasperated smile. He does help the wound, I'll grant him that, cleansing water with his magic. His methods are different than mine, of course, far slower. He thinks his contributions are more valuable since they can combat disease, a valuable tool for certain, but without the volume of water produced from my stone sieves, the settlement would die in a span. In the end, he just refuses to accept that his role has changed. He helped the wound get its bearings years ago, but being the first does not make one qualified to lead. He hates that people have responded to me, and has been blinded by that. What do you know about Reef Talon? He holds a bowl of crushed rocks aloft, squinting to examine its contents as he speaks. So you heard. It's unfortunate what happened to her. Reef Talon arrived a year after I did. Massive creature, one of the largest beasts I've ever seen. She never spoke of her past much, but we knew she was in flight when she stumbled upon the wound with her cubs. He pulls a fragment out of a bowl, running it slowly between his fingers. Whatever she fled from, it didn't stop her from devouring the bane. She was good at it, good enough to lead the beastmen. But Reef Talon had something else far more important. She could heal others with a mere touch. Didn't matter if you'd been raked by the bane or fell on your own sword. She could close up your wounds and send you on your way like nothing had ever happened. That's no ordinary magic. How did she do this? Based on our lore skill there? I don't think she knew herself. She wasn't a student of her craft, not even using beastmen mystics as a standard. What I do here, that's not an accident. What I do here, that's not an accident. It's years of controlled study and meticulous perfection. Reef Talon simply acted on instinct, and that didn't work to anyone's benefit. With a dissatisfied shake of his head, he flicks the unwanted chip into the water. Sometimes we're better off without such miracles. Those Reef Talon healed slowly became sick. It was impossible for them to sleep, even when exhausted, and the relentless waking drove them mad. The affliction takes a while to fully take hold, but the end result is always the same. Even worse, those bestowed with magic slowly lose their gifts. He looks towards the forge, a pained expression visible on his face. Now they're just known as the Sleepless. All of their life and vitality robbed and spent. A terrible end, Fatebinder. Reef Talon couldn't face her mistake, and she fled into the old walls like a coward. He circles around the platform, speaking as much to passers-by as with you. And to think that many here saw her as a leader. What leader runs in the face of adversity? Those of us that remain, we are the ones that continue to hold up Bastard Wound. I toil every day and keep the fires of my forge running, and the people can see who they can truly rely upon. Nearby onlookers shout and pump their fists in support, eliciting a raised fist from the forge-bound master in return. Interesting. I believe his wife is one of the sleepless as well. Heyo, Abarash Kampachi! And if you're heading off, good night, Abarash Kampachi! How do you deal with the Bane? In case you haven't noticed, the beastmen with us aren't your common feral savages. Something about this place focuses them. Whether they come as our workers or on their own. Whether they come as our workers or on their own. They all eventually become fixated on the Bane. I've seen some hunched over, guarding the portals for hours. If any Bane come through, they'd savage them instantly. But apart from the Bane, our beastmen aren't violent. Strange, but welcome. He scratches his chin in thought. I have no explanation. We never asked the beastmen to act as our sentries. They took it on naturally, and have never complained. We do lose some to injury, but so far their defense has worked. Okay, farewell. He nods. Safe journeys, Fatebinder. Now that is very interesting. Talk to them about the illegal settlement within the old walls. Truth and reconciliation. Mel said the first chronicle is hidden in the Bastard Wounds farm area. Search the farm with Lantry present to find it. Where's the farm area? Is that over here? It was meant to be on the upper levels. Might be this. Yes, it is. Denizen's domicile. Ah, okay. Well, let's head over there then. And head up to the farm area. We're heading off to bed. Have fun. We'll have to watch the VOD tomorrow. Okay, mate. Take care, buddy. Oop, I left my party behind. My bad. Good morning, Sudin. Oh, sorry, Sordin. And good afternoon, Tina Chan. How are you doing? It's always a pleasure to see you in chat. Right, let's head on out. I wonder if there are any more sigils for us to collect. I imagine there's quite a few, like, accents, but I wonder if there are any more cores. Juggernaut, you're named. It's smelly work, sure, but it's better than being topside with a war going on. Torrential water plummets down from the jagged openings in the old walls above. Churned by their passage through the ancient tunnels, a cool mist brushes your face, smelling faintly of dust and decay. Tycho there.
Do we have time to do a survey of the flora? For research purposes, of course.
Of course. Fatebinder, you should speak to the to Jaspers or Wagstaff. They speak for the rest of us. Chard, Nashroot, Charlock, and Tubers all flourish in this noisome soil, despite growing deep within the old walls. These. Lunette. I don't know you. You got questions? Ask him of Wagstaff, down in his right room. Faint illumination from the sky above limns the jagged edges of the fractured old walls overhead. Far below, you can make out the flickering dots of torchlight, marking the wound community. Something seem off about the pigs? Kind of glass look to their eyes. Ocean's fury. The beastwoman sniffs at you, snorts, then turns away. Rude. Were it up to me, we'd be growing more tubers and less Nash root. But Nash root goes further, I guess. I wouldn't know. Some pigs. Okay, you've got anything to say? Kratos?
Huh.
Welcome, Fate Banda. Master Jaspos down in the forge will steer you right if you haven't spoken to him. Some more items, especially gems. Very nice. Little looks appealing about these rubbery dung-scented mushrooms. Yet the settlers of the wound care for them as if they were the finest fruits.
Can't do that.
Is there not something that will allow Lantry to spot something?
Sorry, I can't.
I was expecting to find something. Hidden the Bastard Wound farm area. Search the farm with Lantry present. Okay. Well, maybe I need to properly search, because this will give us a big boost of subterfuge, which is the stat that governs our ability to find hidden things. We'll see what we can find. Also, there is something in my sock, and it keeps digging into my foot. Which is fine generally, because the bottom of my foot is practically like leather. I can walk on gravel without it bothering me. But that tiny little bit of skin between my little toe and the toe next to it, not quite as robust, and it just stabbed me. Oh my goodness, that hurts more than I care to imagine. Let me just take my socks off. Tilly has taken to walking around and walking through, more to the point, some thorny bushes of late, and I am finding the spines every bloody where. It is most dissatisfying, I must say. I do not know why she is such a scallywag, but she is. Alright, well, let's head over here then. I wonder, maybe I need to use Lantry specifically. I mean, it doesn't look like Lantry's finding anything so far, but I'll just wander down here in stealth mode and we'll see if anything comes up. But this to me seems the most obvious place for something to happen. But assuming it doesn't, then I'm just going to take control of Lantry and start walking around with him. Okay. Not finding anything just yet. Right then, Lantry. Let's start poking around.
I'm afraid not. No, sorry.
Now, it was near...
Apologies, but I can't do that. Apologies, but
near the farms, but it didn't tell me specifically where in this area it would be.
No, sorry.
This is the first time that I've
I'm
encountered
afraid not.
any
I'm
kind
afraid
of puzzle in this game where it feels like it's hunt the magic pixel. That is definitely how it's feeling right now.
I'm afraid not.
Okay, nothing there. Maybe it's down in the pig pen? Oh, wait. It was there. It was glowing the whole time. Gosh, darn it. Okay, I'll grab the chronicle. Ah, the old concealed text in a pile of picture trick. Classic. As Lantree approaches the corner of the pig pen, a pile of hay and animal droppings vanishes, replaced by a stash of scrolls. Now here's a subject close to my heart. Histories of the School of Ink and Quill. Who doesn't love a little auto-chronicle? Roll calls, minutes, graduation announcements, publication dates, and letters. Oh my. I doubt Sage, Corrin, and Ostrek had any idea their correspondence would be immortalized for the records. Not that most exciting bit of history, but I can see why Mel and Lexmi would want the words of the college close at hand. Lantree thrums through the tome, chuckling with a nostalgic smile at each turn of the page. I take it this brings back memories? Indeed. Some of these notes even have my name on them. Ah, yes, here's my series on bird anatomy. I did that back in 388? Where have the years gone? Do those notes include the part where you conspire to steal our magic? A slight cough escapes Lantree's lips, but he offers no reply aside from turning pages. Well, do they? Well, of course they do. Lantree pauses, his eyes stopping to read the text before him. Nope, they don't. This is about entrapping an old dolt from the School of Wild Wrath, an enemy like the Tidecasters you fight without a written record. I think I'm flattered. Come closer, so I can show you my appreciation. I really do enjoy having Lantree and Ebb in the party at the same time. There's nothing quite like having two enemies together. Nice try, old hag. Lantree never makes the same mistake 8 times. 8 times. Ah, Lantree. You are comedic gold. I know it's also worthless in hindsight, but it's a record of our school. Whatever that's worth. I can obsess about these later. We have other things to do right now. Lantree closes the textbook and looks up at you with a smile. Mm-hmm. I'm suspicious of everything we find in this place. Take a closer look. How can I say no to that order? With a smug grin, the old sage dives into the text. Several minutes pass as Lantree pores over the pages. Strange. All these names of dead people. Good riddance to some. Others, our loss. Kyros' loss. Anything seem incorrect? Anyone you know very well? Pick up one of the volumes and peruse. In this regard, Lantree was correct. Countless sheafs of parchment, all of it social correspondence and academic text of plodding, boring detail. Ooh, my subterfuge is kicking in here. Look for writing out of place. You spot a page inked with conspicuously glossy sheen, suggesting ink far fresher than the original writing. A minuscule crease along the binding hints at where this page was inserted, likely via magically means to blend almost seamlessly. Nice. To be honest, I love all of the companions in this game. They all have such strong personalities that you can really bind into the narrative. The text describes a debate between sages discussing the riddle of rings. Having spent years with the Forgebound as governor of Lethian's Crossing, you've been subject to countless hours of banter from the artisan magi, and know the riddle as a sort of proverb the elder Forgebound teach to their apprentices. Which melts first is the riddle of the rings. Novices often assume the common copper ring melts in a hot flame, but bronze rings in a hotter flame. The bronze rings in a hotter flame, and the lucrative iron rings melt in the hottest flame of all. But the trained Forgebound knows otherwise. The riddle is generally mentioned when young apprentices ask too many questions about why others outside the guild seem, to the Forgebound at least, utterly incapable of appraising and respecting good craftsmanship. And one sage, with the familiar name of Lantry, is arguing with the riddle of rings. Arguing that the riddle of rings posits that Kyros has already conquered the Tears. For if the sages speak the language of Kyros, Lantry reasoned, and use the currency of Kyros, then military conquest is an extraneous formality. Conquest. Odd. I learned the riddle of rings differently. Bronze first, iron last. If only the other Tearsmen felt as you did. Care to explain this? Is this describing a real event? I'll go with conquest. Oh, so you know the original. No disrespect to the Forgebound. It's a great teaching tool. I just borrowed the term for rhetorical effect that day. It was 425, and Sage Cavil was giving a lecture series, having recently returned from his expedition to observe the Forgebound and their ways. At one point, he discussed their teaching methods, so the riddle of rings came as part of the lecture. At the time, I joked that the real riddle of rings is, aren't we already conquered? And I laughed and launched into a not entirely sober diatribe about Kyros' inevitable invasion and domination. Dominion. According to this, I gave a stirring speech met with applause. Hardly. I was hit in the head with an old scroll case and told to sit down, shut up, and let the scholars talk. How rude. Also, hello, Apathy Kitten. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. I'm really glad you made it. Maybe your interpretation of the riddle was the one worth remembering. Actual events vindicated your point of view. Why downplay the fact? Remain silent. You could correct the record. If this is a false record, why not destroy it? Remain silent. I think my nostalgia has been overtaxed for the time being. Let's get moving. I need to think on this a bit. Andrew closes the tome, stashing the old book in one of his stashes. Oh, satchels. Oh, damn it. Perhaps I should have continued to talk to him about that. I was kind of hoping to have a little bit more to say. Or rather, I was hoping that he would continue to talk. He does tend to. Okay, search the old walls for additional fragments of hidden by Laxamy. You found the chronicle hidden in the Bastard's Wounds farm. Alright, well, I guess that's all up here, and we now need to go and talk to Wagstaff or to the Forge Master, the Master of Napping. Right. Wheel. Oh, actually, one of the other places we can go is down into the Denizen's Domicile. Now, I wonder if this is connected completely. That would be useful if it were. Actually, let's have a quick word with Mel again. Hey, Binder, you've returned. Is there anything I can help you with? No. Doesn't look like it. Oh, okay, this is a fairly small one. Right here. I shall just quickly help myself. You can consider these taxes paid to the court for the settlement's continued existence. Please speak to Master Jaspers of the Forge before pronouncing any verdict. Also, accept the taxes. And just remember that we paid our taxes. Oh, thank you very much for the cheer there, Apathy Kitten. That was really kind of you. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Right, let's pop in here. But I think once we've done that, I'm going to go and speak with Wagstaff, I think. Oh. What be you? Okay, remind me to come back here in a bit, chat, once we've gone into this room. Weird purple glow through the map. No. Many hellos. One of Kyros' wandering judges, come to the wound. Think the Fate Binder will turn us back out into that war? Possibility. Go back there in a bit. Thank you for Tina Decay. If it weren't for you, I totally wouldn't have remembered and gone back there in a bit. If there is something marvellous there, it's only because of you that I am now about to collect it. That's still there. I think this may actually just be someone carrying a staff, but we're just going to err on the side of caution here, okay? Yes, it's someone's staff. Argian. Alright. I think we're going to go and have a chat with Wagstaff. There we go. The old man regards you as you approach. Fate Binder. What else do you want of me? I'm ready to make my decision about the settlement. I can't wait. Tell me. I have other questions for you first. Let me just have a quick look. What happens to those with the withering rod? You waste away in agonizing fashion. That's the short of it. The water here slakes thirst for a moment, those poisoned reportedly feeling dry no matter how they drink. They're pissing and shitting out more than you put in, while being desperately thirsty all the time. Your skin shrivels and cracks. Eventually you die, a pathetic, desiccated husk of a person. That's what I found when I first happened upon the wound. A lot of scared, dying folks that weren't long for this world. Nobody was going to right that ship except me, so I stayed, and they lived. What's wrong with the water down there? The streams that run through these old walls have something foul about them. Some suggest that Bane do their business upstream, and that taints the water. I suspect the problem is less scatological in origin, but likely mystical all the same. Whatever it is, it leads to fever, seizures, eventually death. I've been able to concoct a remedy, if administered in time, and I can mix the solution with water to make it drinkable. But untreated, the water here is a death sentence. And they accepted your leadership willingly? Did I knock them around first? Is that what you're asking? No. They were survivors of some battle where Cairn brought a keep down on their heads, and opened a route to this enclave in the process. They were starving, lost, terrified of the Bane. They came to me for help, since my magic could keep them safe. Times sure have changed, folks begging a tidecaster to save them and all. Strange how the general attitude towards our school shifted dramatically when Kyros minions marched into town. To a tidecaster, these are trivial matters, so long as I'm here making a solution to purify the water in a simple matter, and make life here possible. Alright. I'm not gonna bribe them for it. It's either illegal or not. I feel that it is. Supremely stretching technicalities to even hint at not being illegal. Nico Shana, thank you very much for the 36 months, my lord. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you so much for the resub there. That's really kind of you. I feel inclined to let them continue to operate independently. But it is a real stretch. It's not so much of a loophole as we are deforming the rules in order to make it work. Yeah. He raises an eyebrow, observing you with an unmasked skepticism. Unexpected, Fatebinder. Perhaps your visit was worth the interruption. Making a life without someone breathing down my neck is all I've ever wanted. Thank you? He appears genuinely disgusted with his halfway cordial offering, and shakes his head violently to banish the feeling. With a satisfied nod, Wagstaff cups his hands and bellows, "The court will extend mercy!" Wagstaff's celebratory yell echoes throughout the makeshift village and is answered by distant cries of relief and sobs of joy. Thank you, Fatebinder. I knew the day would come that we'd be discovered, and I imagined a much bloodier scenario. In this regard, I'm happy to be made a fool. Life here in the wound isn't easy, and we always assumed outsiders will bring death, not help. Your leniency is the sort of surprise we needed in these difficult times. And though I never would have guessed this, your arrival may be the sign of good things to come. But yeah, I mean, technically they're under the old walls. Though it feels like, just looking at the architecture, this is made a part of the old walls. But living in a cave isn't against Kyros' law. Exploring the old walls is against Kyros' law. It's difficult to say, but I feel that this is very much a stretch, though. And it is perhaps only because I'm curious about what's going on with the Beastmen that I'm allowing this. My arrival bodes well for your future. And just what are you getting at? We normally avoid contact with the outsiders for fear of trouble following us back home, and with my duties here leaving us out of the question. And yet, there are matters beyond the walls that are in need of a solution, and since I cannot leave this place to handle my own affairs, perhaps I can retain your services. Depends on what you have in mind. There's an old rival of mine still out there, a sage named Phoebe. He twists the rope on the end of his belt, grimacing. Yes, we're from rival schools. No, this isn't just a case of an unsettled score. I'd live and let live, but she poses an actual threat to the wound. She had knowledge of my plans to journey north to trace Cairn's path in these mountains, which may expose us. She could bring a slew of homeless sages here, probably followed by a gaggle of spies. It's not worth the risk. She needs to die. His tone is matter of fact, almost casual. Problem is finding her. We had a mutual contact, Melita, who used to spend this time of the year in Lethian's Crossing. If the two are still in touch, she'll be able to point you in the right direction. All of Bass's wounds would be in your debt, most of all me. Can I trust for your help? How do you know her? Over a decade ago, the School of Ties and the School of Ink and Quill tried, yet again, to discuss peace. She represented her school. I was forced to represent our end of the fruitless mediation. It was all a farce to get to know a few of us, figure out who should be spied upon. Several span later, some of my work was discovered by the sages. Fucking word thieves. Every last one of them. Is this sage really such a threat? She's a risk to everyone living here. The woman hates me. Having dealings with her in the past was a mistake, and I'll be damned if I let the error ruin all we've built here. Now that her school is in ruins, she'll view my accomplishments here as research to be appropriated. And while she's at it, she'll engineer a catastrophe for the wound just to spite me. So yes, Fatebinder, I'm sure. I'm not going to kill someone before they've actually done anything. I understand the sentiment, but whatever you believe it or not, that woman is a threat. And will gladly bring attention to our existence, if it serves her purposes. Moreover, she's likely to expose us without even trying. She could wind up consumed by the voices of a rat or followed here. I found this place. Why kill someone when the secret's already out? You don't give up patching a hole in the hull just because a new one opens. Look, I seem to be asking the wrong thing of the wrong person. I'm sorry. This all sounds so monstrous. This loose end is mine to solve. The answer isn't necessarily no. The question is, what's it worth? I'm not going to kill someone. Yeah, I'm not a killer for hire. Apologies if that's what I'm implying. I will not push the matter. I ask only that you chat with the denizens of our little refuge. If you come to the same conclusion I did, that they are worth protecting, even if it means spilling some blood, then I'll reward you for your assistance in protecting this place. No promises. Let me ask you something else. Well, we've got nothing else to say now. But alright. There we go. Talk to Melita and Lething's crossing tied together. Okay, well, it looks like we have completed... Yeah, we've completed the one who got away. Now, we could go and talk with Melita in Lethian's Crossing. Search the old walls for additional fragments of hidden by Laxmi. Now, would it be these old walls that we need to look around? You seem kind of subdued today, Aavak. Everything okay? I think everything's okay. Am I going to have to walk around the entirety of this area with Lantry to see if I can find anything? Oh my lord, that would be incredibly, incredibly boring. Alright.
I'm old, not deaf. I heard you the first time.
What do you mean you heard me the first time? I didn't say anything yet, you scallywag. My lord. Now then, chat. For the sake of us not wasting ages, because I will scour this entire place, if you don't know.
Apologies,
but
I can't do that.
If you know that there are... that I need to actually be looking in the old walls and not just in Bastard's Wound, let me know in chat right now. All the others are further in the old walls. Okay, that is good enough for me. Thank you very much, hero number 0. There was no point in me just looking further and further and further. Fatebinder, you've returned. Nope, nothing you can help me with. Greetings, Fatebinder. I think I speak for all of the Forgebound when I thank you for your graciousness in regards to our little community. We don't normally barter our weapons and armors, but for a personage such as yourself, I'll gladly make an exception. Would you care to prize our works, or was there something else I could help you with? What can you tell me about Bastard's Wound? Never expected to be making a hope in the old walls. That's certain. But between our efforts and Master Jasper's guidance, we've built of this place something like a home. If you could find a better solution for the water issue... Nothing against Wagstaff, he has my admiration as a community founder, but being the first settler and being first amongst settlers are two wholly different things. Let's see what you've got on offer. I think you'll be impressed, Fatebinder. Even with the limited resources available in the wound, the Forgebound craft the finest creations in all of Terratus. You've got a masterwork iron armor there. That's actually quite nice. A recipe for Colossus extract. This recipe describes a process for concocting Colossus extract. This can be created with access to Aspiring Infirmity. Okay. I will accept it. You'll just straight up give that to me. I am happy, I think. Okay, thank you. Rostrum Lank. Fatebinder, the former nobleman hops on his good leg to face you. Tell me about yourself, Rostrum. I think you're well acquainted with the manor and its grounds at this point. My father's legacy and my inheritance, reduced to rubble and ash. They call it the Shattered Bastion. He runs his finger across his eyes, tracing the dark circles that ring them. Rostrum House is but a memory now. Prior to Kyros' arrival, we were a successful merchant family with roots that extended from Azure's capital to Arden's coasts. My father never married, but that didn't stop him from asserting control over these lands. Tearsman laws be damned! I'm all that remains of his 3 heirs. It's highly unusual for your father to claim land ownership. He didn't cleave to tradition. I'm sure that passing women the land and stuffing men abroad the ships made sense when our ancestors needed cleaner lines of inheritance. Men drown, so women wear the crown, as they say. My father never set foot in water. Goes to show how you can overcome any eccentricity if your coffers are full of rings. They speak more persuasively than you or I ever could. But what do you do here, personally? Shouldn't you be leading the settlement? Is this face worthy of leadership? He snorts, running his hands through his unruly hair. No, I lack my father's ambition. I've seen where it leads. Besides, I have little to offer these folks beyond a memory of more optimistic days. He rubs a thick scar running down his arm. My father would be enraged if he saw me today, pacing the mushroom beds or leading swine to slaughter. This life may not be worth much, but it's something at least. How was Rostrum Manor destroyed? I suppose my father's optimism was to blame. Before the Overlord's forces even set foot in the Basseteer, my father invited Tearsman of all persuasions into these walls to resist Kyros. Didn't matter who you were. Once the tier fell, Cain arrived to make an example of my family. That monster sundered the whole damn mountain along with my home. Excuse me. My family was killed by the very walls meant to protect them. I was the luckiest, merely pinned by the stone column I clutched as the floor heaved from Cain's onslaught. His maimed arm quivers from some unknown exertion. Eventually, a single finger extends downwards and points at his right leg, heavily scarred and bent at an unnatural angle. My fighting days are done, Fatebinder, even if I hate the Overlord more than ever. Okay, well, I must be going. Could you tell us or show us which classes of characters that you're using? This is a 3 mages and 1 tank party right now. Ebb and Lantry are more or less pure mages. I'm a little bit of a hybrid mage fighter. Barak is the tank. Fatebinder, the woman before the cart, greets you evenly. She wears her greying hair pulled back high over fouled leathers, her narrow eyes emphasizing the dirty creases above her cheeks. There's not a lot of trade in the wound, and little of that in magical goods. If you need scribbles or mixtures gleaned from our forays into the old walls, I'm the one to ask. What can you tell me about Bastard Wound? Not a bad little place to carve out a bit of life. Better than the war topside, anyway. Wagstaff started things, and he's been a capable hand on the rudder. If that makes sense. Real father-like, as if he's got a stake in it. That overpuffed bricklayer, Jaspos, on the other hand, he's just like every other shit come south with the conquest, just looking for a way to bend the tears over and ram his poker up. She clears her throat. Got a bit carried away there myself. Well, I mean, I guess speak your mind. You know that collecting and distributing forbidden lore from the old walls is a serious crime. Is settling in them, right? Let's not say that, because I actually do want to see what you got. Let's see what you've got on offer, then. Sure thing. Here's what we've scrounged up. Well, cerulean scales. Scrolls. I know this one, I know this one. I do not know the exceptional sigil of precise action. And I am sorely tempted to purchase it. Sure. I don't want that many of them, my lord. Thank you. Thanking you. Now it would be funny if I said, and you do know that selling these things is super illegal, right?